Hello goons and gals, it is Doug here with the Born a Goon channel, and I would like to welcome you to today's video. A video that you have been eagerly yet patiently waiting for, but my friends out there in Moto Land, the wait is over, the time is now, and I ask you just one question. Are you ready? Are you ready for the Super ECU Shootout of 2022, where one of these top ECUs in the category will reign supreme as the must-own ECU of 2022 and be the king? Will it be the ever so popular, the lovable, the veteran of the class, the Vortex ECU, also known as Mellow Yellow? Will it be the newcomer on the block with its fast chip processor and fancy handlebar switch, the AiM Taipan ECU, also known as Puff the Magic Dragon? We're just going to call him Magic Dragon. Or will it be the super powerful GET Athena ECU that we will call from here on out Incredible Hulk? I don't know about you guys, but I am fired up, so let's get started. All right, goons and gals, now we got those prelims out of the way. It's time to get down to business and declare ourselves a winner. But before I do that, I just want to say thank you and give a very big shout out to Mike at Taco Moto for being so kind to provide these for the back-to-back-to-back shootout. I know this is something that the moto community really wanted to see, and this is definitely something that you guys deserve. So again, thanks, Mike, for making something like this happen. Now, on that note, when it came time to present this material, I wanted to be as thorough as possible while also being very respectful of time. So for this video, what I want to do is just focus on what I think are the most important details between each one when someone is shopping for an ECU, or why you would actually want to put an ECU in your bike in the first place. What I'm going to do in addition to this is 3 separate videos, singular, on each one of these ECUs. Consider it like a cheat sheet, an installation guide, test settings with multiple pipes and multiple configurations, multiple altitudes, and so on. That way, if there's something I said in this video that you like about one of them, you can learn more about that individual ECU in its own video. Now, they won't be up on YouTube for a couple weeks after this one is posted because I wanted to do the shootout between them first. But you can always come back and look in the description box. I'll update the links as soon as I get them. Or you can just do the easy thing, which is subscribe to the channel and enable the notifications, and you'll know when I actually post them. Or maybe by the time you actually see this, they're already down in the description box, so feel free to check those out. Now, on that note, when I'm thinking about what makes somebody want an ECU and what is the most important things about an ECU, I think I speak for everyone when I'm saying that us average riders, and by average I'm meaning beginner, novice to intermediate, the amateur rider, the weekend warrior, when we don't have a whole lot of time to ride, or definitely not ride as much as we would like to, I think we're all looking for the same thing, and we're not just necessarily after the chase of huge horsepower numbers. What we're really looking for is something that delivers us a usable power. It doesn't matter what the number is, but a usable power that we can put to the ground and make good use of. We're also looking for something that is pretty user-friendly. So if we plug it into a stock bike, it works. If we upgrade to a full exhaust, it works. If we just want to replace the can, it works. If we modify our air box, it works. If we're riding in the sand, the mud, the snow, sleet, hail, rain, low elevation, mid elevation, high elevation, through the Andes, or wherever you go in the world, you want to be able to put this ECU in and go out and ride it and have a good time. You want it to work. And if you do have to make adjustments to it, you want those adjustments to be user-friendly. So I created a series of tests, which I will go into here in just a second. But this is what I want to focus on, the usability for each rider based on the way that they're actually riding their bike. Because what I think the winner of this contest is may not be your winner, and that's okay, because the way I do, the way I ride is not what you do and the way you ride. Each their own, and that's what we're here for, is to give a fair, honest comparison between each one of these. So let's get to know these units just a little bit better. Just a brief overview. We're not going to go into a lot of detail right now, but we'll start out with the most popular and widely used of the class, which is the Vortex ECU. And we're going to call this one Mellow Yellow because that's kind of what it does. It delivers a great, solid, mellow power, at least to me. So with this ECU, the pros is that it is the veteran of the class. It's the most widely used, and there's a lot of data and testing that has been done in reference to this unit. And the good thing is it's very difficult to find someone who has something bad to say about this unit. So it is solid. Let's call it Old Faithful too. It performs and performs very well. I found that it's user-friendly for most of us, albeit it's primitive compared to the newer ECUs with their fancy apps and handlebar switches. I mean, this one can have a handlebar switch, but for the most part, your adjustments are made via a screwdriver. And that's kind of cool for some of us older riders that were used to adjusting carbs or the clickers on your suspension. So on the very front of it, it's pretty simple. You have adjustments for all three ranges of your fueling, from low, middle to high. And then you have a series of maps that you can use. Now, all of these are going to be similar in the types of maps that they offer, which is on this one, you can adjust it for just the stock motorcycle. Then you can adjust it if you put a pipe in. So for example, the Vortex is set at 0. That's for a stock bike. If you're running it completely stock, you plug it in and it works well with your bike just in stock configuration, and it will be better than the stock ECU. Now, the first half of those maps are set up for the FMF pipe. There's an enduro map in there, and I'm sorry I don't know all of them there. I'll post them up here on the screen when I edit this. And then there's just a full map for when you just want to go wide open throttle, no traction control, nothing. You just want full bike, full power. You have those modes in it. And then the second half of them are set for the Yoshimura exhaust. And that's what most people end up buying for the CRF 450RL. And even though this test was done on the 450RL in both stock configuration and with a full Graves exhaust, the results are going to be universal no matter what bike you have. It's going to translate to the bike that you're owning. Here's what I noticed about those maps, which is a good thing. No matter what exhaust I put on the bike, whether it was a Graves, an Acropokovic slip-on, the bike worked just fine. There was a good map in there somewhere. You just needed to spend a little time with that ECU and use it. But no matter what exhaust you have, whether you have one or you don't have one, you can plug and play this one, and it's a straightforward unit. Now, it doesn't come with a handlebar switch. You should get that. It's going to add about $80 to your bill, which I think is $750 for this plus 80, so you're looking at $800 for this unit. But you can only toggle between two different maps. So like most riders may have a full wide open map and then something like an enduro map or a trail map or something that kind of dials down the power. Whatever it is, you can select two different maps that you like, and you can toggle between those on the switch, which makes it convenient. Otherwise, if you want to look at it as a con, you'll have to pull off your seat and change it on the dial. I didn't find that to be too big of a problem, but the other ones don't require you to do that, and that's a different story. So everything worked really well with this unit based on that, and the power was really good. Now, there are some negatives with this thing, and that is the age of the unit. Now, I understand from Vortex's viewpoint that if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and to some degree, that's a great philosophy. But you really never understand how old the chip processor is and the unit is until you start doing the back-to-back with the newer, higher technologically advanced ECUs, which I'll get into a little deeper here in just a second. Now, if it works on your bike, that's fine. But the other big problem is this is a very difficult unit to get. And I don't want to throw shade here on the Vortex because I really had a great experience with it. But it doesn't look, there's not a bright future here, and I hope something changes to fix that, because this Vortex is just a Vortex, and what's inside of it is just built inside of it. And the chip that they're using, even though we're going through chip problems here and supply chain problems, it's even worse for Vortex because this chipset is very old in this unit, at least old for computer chipsets. You know how computers are, they move at the speed of light. So I guess the word on the street is the company that makes these chips doesn't want to make them anymore at all. They're just making them for Vortex. And this is what's made it very difficult to get. I think the only place you can get it is directly through Vortex because they've simply just stopped shipping them out to suppliers. So that's what I hear. How true that is, I don't know, but it's definitely hard to get because I ordered one of these originally and I waited for more than 25 weeks before I had to finally just cancel the order because I never heard anything back. Other than that, it's pretty effective. Now, another, let's say, con of this is it does have traction control, but it's not so user-friendly to set up and start engaging. Like, there's a learning curve to get to use the traction control. And I'm going to say that the actual traction control itself, my opinion only, and of course this is by riding back to back to back, is not as effective as the other ones. But overall, it's a solid, well-built unit. Costs you about $800 total with the switch, if you can get one. Now we move over here to the AiM, and this is from Italy. This one's from Australia. I don't know if I mentioned it. It's from Italy. And even though it's the newcomer, they're not newcomers in the world of electronics. They make things like paddle shifters for Formula One, so they know their stuff. The pros with this AiM is that it's using the latest and greatest technology, and it's the fastest processor out of any of those. But what's more special about this unit is their commitment to trying to take over this space and, let's say, dominate the Vortex or take that market share by providing a really good customer interface. So there are five different maps that come with this, and they've got this nice little handy switch here that, unlike the Vortex where you may have to pull off your seat to access more than 2 maps, you have all 5 maps that can be accessed right here. So you have like a map number 1, which is just a wide open bike with a pipe and exhaust. You know, no traction control. Well, you can put traction control in it, but it's just an unabated motorcycle, full power, 91 to 93 pump gas. You have map number 2, which is an enduro mode. You have map 3, which is a highway mode, which is supposedly able to give you 10% more gas mileage. I rode it all day in this mode. I didn't document the mileage. I don't know if it actually does that, but there was definitely a difference in the power, but I can't verify that yes or no if that's true. You have map number 4, which is if you're running a stock bike, it's full power on your stock configuration, and then you have an enduro mode. So you can actually toggle through each one of those maps while you're riding the bike. It's like an adventure bike. It also has traction control and launch control, and all you got to do is hit the button on the bottom, and you can dial into each map the level of traction control that you want. So it's much easier to use this switch on the fly than it is to pull your seat off with the Vortex. You know, you have to decide whether that's a pro or a con for you. You also have launch control, and even though I didn't get a chance to mess with them too much, there is adjustments for both low, medium, and high in this. So you can adjust the fueling no matter where you are. So again, if you're riding somewhere and let's say you get some bad fuel somewhere, sputters a little bit, you can just adjust it right here with the switch. It's pretty convenient that way. Also, with their commitment to customer service, this unit is built for the future. So as we all ride and we give our feedback to Takomoto, they can program new maps, create new maps, build new maps from our feedback. So we're all working together on this, which makes it pretty cool because maps will get better, technology gets better, the world gets better, we all work together, we grow together. They can program these maps, and soon you'll be able to plug this right into your home computer and download the map off the internet. And none of them have any feature anywhere near that. So the future is really bright, even though I would say an early con is they're not quite there yet with this ECU. So the cons, though, that I had with this one, you know, we're not talking about power yet, is it is a little, it's not the easiest thing to use. It sounded pretty easy when I mentioned it, but it takes a little bit of a learning curve to get used to this switch. And when you got gloves on and you're stopping and you're kind of moving around, it isn't as easy as it looks. Once you get used to it, it's not such a big deal, but that is definitely a con. Now, the unit costs about $700 itself, but I would say a con for that is it's pretty much not worth it unless you're gonna divvy up with the switch, which is another $200. So that's gonna put you at about $900 total. It really doesn't seem to me it's worth owning unless you got the switch. Now you can save a couple of bucks with getting a 2-way switch like the Vortex has, and that's pretty good. But this is, to me, you got to upgrade to this, I think, if you want to have that. So consider that a possible con with this unit. We now move on to the Incredible Hulk here, the Athena GET ECU. Now this one is more expensive than all of them. Probably $1,100 total, but it comes with this handy Wi-Fi. If you get the kit, you can buy the ECU. I think it's like $825. Then you got to pay a little extra here. I'll put the exact numbers up on the screen. You have this little fancy Wi-Fi thing, and you can get a 2-way map switch like the Vortex. So the pros of this thing here is, I'm going to say pro and a con. This Wi-Fi is pretty awesome. to use with this unit. Like you can adjust it for your phone. So for you riders out there that have your phone mounted on your handlebars or something, you can actually just connect to your bike and make adjustments to the fueling, to the traction, to pretty much everything you want into the bike. You can select maps, you can do whatever you want. You can also keep maintenance records. It has a barometric pressure sensor on it. You get a lot of diagnostics about your bike. When it comes time to do your TPS setting, you just push a button. I mean, it is super user friendly. The con to this is if you can't get Wi-Fi, you just are kind of out of the water. You're stuck with your maps. Now, a con could be in the beginning, you only have just two maps with this ECU. And while the others have multiple maps, 2 may sound like a bad number, like that's not enough maps. We want some more maps. But I will say this, whatever little maps they put in here, whatever little voodoo they've got going on, it's a winner because those 2 maps are the only 2 maps you'll probably ever need in your life. They are amazing maps in their own right. Now, something that I did not mention, oh, by the way, this is going to be like $1,100 total. You can also get a traction control knob that goes along with it. And one thing I did not mention that I was going to say is that the Vortex is always a Vortex. I might have already said that, but not so with the Taipan and AiM and the GET ECU. While you can buy these ECUs off of any distributor you like, and they do come with custom maps, these maps that I tested are Takomoto maps, meaning they're shipped to Takomoto clean and empty. And Takomoto is using their technology, they're testing feedback from customers like myself, like you and everyone else, and they're building quality maps. That's why it's a positive, because as our technology gets better, we all work together, we can give our feedback and these maps can change, and they even get better with all the racing and testing that they are doing. So consider that either a pro or a con, however you want to look at it. So it does matter where you get the ECU. So overall, I think once you're spending $800, $900, you're spending enough money anyway. It doesn't matter too much to me, at least price-wise, between the two. You'd have to decide which one is more user-friendly. All of them give you the ability to change multiple things pretty easily within the way the bike runs. So if you want to adjust a little fueling in low range, mid range, high range, add a little top end, take away a little bottom end, whatever you want to do, you have the ability to do that. Although the standard settings within the maps that are created are pretty spot on, if you choose to do that, it's pretty good. The Vortex, you're going to have to use a screwdriver to do that, the old school way. This one you can just toggle through on the switch, which is super convenient. And this one you can adjust it to the app, which, I don't know, for us older people, maybe not the easiest way, or if you can't get Wi-Fi access to it, you may have to wait. So just keep all of that in mind. Now I want to get back to what I think is the real part. Specs are one thing, which is just speculation. What is said here and there is just that, right? What matters is how in the hell do they work? That's what you want to know. Which one's better? Which one works better? And how do they do that? So in order for me to try to connect with most riders, because some of you are watching from overseas, some of you are in high elevation, low elevation, hot weather, cold weather, you ride half the year, humid, wherever you are, I wanted to cover what I felt is those most important things, like I said earlier. So I created a few different tests. The first test that I created was the jerk test. So most of these dual sports, when you buy them, because of the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, they have to restrict these motorcycles. That's a different topic. We all know that. But one of their downfalls, especially the 450RL, is its extreme jerkiness. Its throttle is like really abrupt, and then when you let off, you're just back and forth, and it's really jerky, and the bike stalls a lot, and that's what people don't like, and that's why they end up buying an ECU. So what I did was I just hammered on the throttle, shut it off real abruptly. Hammered on, shut it off. And I did it with all 3 ECUs back to back to back. I did it in stock configuration on that. Then I mounted the exhaust, and then the can, and I ran it in modified mode and got a feeling for each one of them in the jerk test, which one had the throttle response, which one had any jerking to it. I did a quarter turn test, which is I held the throttle a quarter turn. I ran it for 30 seconds like that. I did another quarter turn, another 30 seconds holding it steady. Full throttle, 30 seconds holding it steady. And I did this for 2 reasons. The first was to, while you're holding it in a quarter turn, is the fueling consistent? So if you're holding it, is the bike steady, holding its RPMs, or are you getting any sort of fluctuation in it? The second is, as you move to the half turn, what was that transition like between low, middle, and high? Was it a smooth, seamless, so as you roll onto your throttle, are you getting a consistent, well-balanced fueling all the way through? Now, it's not just that we're looking for, but because we're all average amateur riders, let's face it, we're not in shape, right? So after we're riding for 20 minutes, we're beat, especially if you're doing single track and you're just sloppy with the throttle, you're chopping the clutch, or you're over clutching, under clutching, chopping the brakes. We're just all over the place, right? Got arm pump, hand numbness. So I want to make sure that which one works the best and is user-friendly for the rider. So that's one of the tests that I did. I did a lot of slow riding to test the stalling capabilities of each one, because flame out issues and stalling is a big complaint for the CRF 450RL and other dual sport bikes. Which one was able to chug along at a great pace? And then I did some hill climbing tests. Now the hill climbing test wasn't just, oh, I'm AMA hill climbing, see how steep I can go. I was looking for tractability. So as you're moving up a hill, what kind of tractor power do you have? Is that power being able to be put to the rear wheel and give you traction without just flying off the trail? Also, if you go up the hill and you lose your momentum, let's say you drop the bike. Maybe if you have something like the Vortex, you might have to pick the bike back up, ride it down the hill, get another go at it and run. Or can you stop in the middle of the hill and just hit the power and grind right on back up? Which one did the best? And then I just spent a complete day riding it through all kinds of conditions here in Las Vegas. Heat, hardcore single track, wide open fire roads. I took it to the mountains in Mount Charleston where it's 7,500 feet of elevation, just to get a good feel of it. And then I actually had someone else just ride the bike for me each day, not knowing what I was asking for. I just go out and ride this motorcycle, come back and tell me what you think. Then I would put another ECU and say, I changed something, just go out and ride it and tell me what you think. Didn't tell them what I changed, just so they could give me another set of eyes and feeling about the bike. So how do I translate such amazing testing to you? I mean, do I dazzle you with fine charts and graphs? How about we do this? Because nothing is official in the Goon unless it's been tested on the good old butt dyno. So that's what we're gonna do, the butt dyno. What is it, guys? How do each one of these feel? So let's say this is your imaginary horsepower line, and this is your imaginary RPM line. And let's say for the 450RL, for example, this is your power curve. You got some pretty good power with it, but I'm gonna draw a couple of shaky lines like this, simulating the jerky throttle response. As you're moving from one range to the next range, from low, medium to high, you're getting this jerk. There's constant shake in it. But overall, there's a good range of power just in the stock bike. Not the greatest, but it's not bad for the way that it is. We'll start out talking about how the Vortex performed. Obviously, all of these are better than stock. But the Vortex unit here, why I called it mellow yellow is because that's what it felt like. It just felt like a whole lot more than stock. It came on really nice on the first quarter turn of the throttle. There was good power. It wasn't intimidating power. It was just nice. And again, this is stock format set at 5, 5, 5, and number 0 on the map. I'll put 0 over here for the map setting, stock formation in the bike. Now in stock formation, the transition from low to middle, there was just slight little lurch. At first I thought it might just be the wind. You could mistake it for, well, maybe it's just gusty outside. But I rode it a lot, paid attention to it, and it's definitely there. Deal breaker, no. Many may not even notice it. Maybe it's just one of those days, not something that a click here or two couldn't fix, but it was there in stock setting. And then it had just really good, usable power all the way out. And I tell you what, my first impression of riding it, it was fantastic. I'm like, this is one hell of a unit. It's very user-friendly, very nice in just the 555. Maybe you make a click or two here to dial that out, you got yourself a really sweet unit. I was very, very impressed. Then I put the AiM here. And it was a completely different story with the AiM. The AiM came right, let's just put it right here. Magic Dragon, Puff the Magic Dragon here. It just took off right from the go. There was a lot of juice right off the throttle. More than any one of these ECUs. When you crack it, it's responsive. And that's probably because it's using the fastest processor. It's rocks off the bottom. Let's just say that. If you're looking for bottom end, this could be your guy right here. If you like to do wheelies, probably your guy right here. Then it just kind of flattened out in the mid-range. And then as it would go towards the top, it seemed to die off a little bit in power. Not power, the power band died off versus the Vortex. The Vortex seemed to have a little bit more top end. I think I read somewhere on the Vortex paper, this was like 10,700 RPMs was red line. If that's true, let's say this is like 10,000, 9,800. There is a little bit of a drop off in the stock formation deep. So you can kind of feel the power band is short. So if you're riding trails, you might end up shifting a little bit more here with this one versus this one, right? Plus you've got a whole lot more beef down here on the bottom to contend with. Now that might help you on trails if you just want to chug around. We'll get to that later, but that's how the power band works. I did notice that cruising down the freeway at about 65, 70 miles an hour, there was a tiny lurch here, much like the lurch that was down in here with the Vortex, where it just feels like there's a tad little nudge, like maybe somebody's just touching you in the back a little bit. Probably could be adjusted out, but that's not what I was trying to do. Just wanted to test it and give an honest comparison. Now we move to Incredible Hulk here, and it's Incredible Hulk for a reason. When we put the GET up here, it just starts up here way more than both of them. And it just, much like the Vortex, where it's a solid linear all the way through the rotation power, it just kept on going and going and going and going. It's like a John Deere jacked up on roids. It just kept on driving and driving and driving and driving. And there is a big power difference between the Vortex and the GET. It's almost like the Vortex in the delivery, just like 30% more. It is there, and it goes, and it just keeps on going and going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny. And that's how that worked. And that was just in there was only 2 maps there. That's just in the wide open mode, didn't have traction control, just a full bike, and off she goes. None of these had traction control in that setting. I didn't mess around with them at that point. So when I put on the exhaust, I had the same types of results whether I just put on a can and if I put on a can and a header. And I say the same kind of results is everything stayed pretty true to form. That's why I think no matter what exhaust you put on your bike or what bike you're riding, the way that it's delivered is going to be true to form minus a couple of nuances. So what I mean by that is the Vortex worked the same. It was just 10 to 15% more. It was just a whole lot more in the beginning, a whole lot in the middle, a whole lot through the top. There was only a couple of things out of these that stood out. One was when the pipe got in. I set this Vortex, by the way, at 3, 5, and 5. 3 on the low, 5, 5, and then map number 9 took that right out of there. Smooth the whole way through. That setting I loved. Worked great with the Graves exhaust. Popped on an Akrapokovic there. Worked real good. Worked good. Let's just say it worked good. And if you had that ECU, you'd be like, damn, this is a badass ECU. I love the way my bike rides. Then your buddy shows up with your AiM and you're like, whoa, 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 what did you do to your engine? So let's move to AiM. And this one benefited far more than any of the other ones when the pipe was on. When I hit the throttle on this thing, it launched right into the Athena GET status. It took the torque and just dialed that up from, half-ass to full badass. Like it just was like a can of whoop-ass was just being drilled right in your face. It's like, whoa, I wasn't even expecting it. I mean, the torque that came from that compared to the Vortex was next level. Now, it didn't do anything else for the rest. The bike just kind of just rolled right out there, still had a short power curve. But boy, that pipe just stuck it right there down low. So keep that in mind when you're looking for, again, if you're the wheelie monster, if you're looking for something, you brap, and you see a little obstacle and you beep right over it, gone she goes. There's a lot of torque, and it actually really closed the gap between the Athena GET and the AiM on that. Now, the GET, just like the Vortex, you just got a whole lot more. Same power curve, you just put it in there and thought, wow, somebody just bored out my bike another 50 to 60 cc's here. It just kept on going and going and going and going. Maybe I shouldn't call it the Incredible Hulk, I should call it the Energizer Bunny. It's a tractor, it just keeps on going and going and going. Now, when I put these into different enduro riding modes, I would say that the Vortex was kind of like iffy. It was kind of not jerky, but it was maybe not tuned properly. Like, this is my opinion. You know, if you have one, you get a different opinion. Remember, I'm in Vegas. It's 100 degrees every single day. It was kind of weird. It felt like I was riding around with a rear brake on. Maybe you don't have that experience. Again, this is something that can be adjusted out. I'm not throwing shade on any ECU. You can fix this. You know how I said that in the beginning. But I'm running these in their regular format, and that's what I experienced. When I put it into the AiM, it became a little more jerky to me. And I don't think it's because it's like Honda jerk, right? It's because you got so much torque that it's like, you know, it just, whoa, you know. I feel that the enduro mode, wide open, it's fine. If you're on a fire road and you just want to giggle your ass off and whatever, fine. But in enduro mode, if you're on tight single track, you kind of have to be a little cautious, right? Like, not overly cautious, but you know what I'm saying. As you're getting tired, it does not reward the sloppy. You got to be a little bit cognizant of that hit in the beginning. You'll eventually get used to it, but your first ride, that's what's the point of going back to back to back, is your first impression. Is whoa. But after you ride on it all day, you get used to it. It's no big deal. But it definitely has the power. The GET, whatever they build at Takamoto, should be given an Academy Award, a trophy of some sort. That enduro mode is pristine. And I'm being as, I don't know what word I'm looking for, objective as possible. You know, I'm trying to hold back the real true feelings of that. That was one hell of a setting for those that like single track and enduro. I don't know what they've done there, but they got the sweet spot there. And here's why. There was level 10 traction control programmed to this. I've got a Tiger 800 and I've run a ton of adventure bikes. I can tell when traction control is on. I rode this thing around. I did not know that traction control was even enabled on the ECU. I had no clue. The bike just worked so well that I didn't even know traction control was enabled. And it felt like a cheater mode. Like, you could go up the side of a mountain, turn your bike off, have a cup of coffee, get back on, and just shoot right back up the hill. Like, it just inspired you to do more. Probably the best mode out of all of them, just because whatever you're riding, single track or tight woods, it just fit. That's all I got to say. Can't say any more. As far as stalling issues, they all did a great job with stalling and flame out. They cut them down about 90%. I would say in order in which they're listed, the Vortex had tiny bits of stalling, a little bit on the AiM too. They're probably close to the same. You know, you get around there, you make a couple of messy clutch moves, they'll stall. The GET, with a pipe on, it was almost impossible to stall. Even when you screwed up, it was almost impossible to stall. And again, that's another reason why I like it. So that's the butt dyno chart. If you're somebody who's looking for a really smooth, clean power, you've got that between the Vortex and the GET. The real big difference is that the GET just gets more of it, right? There's just more there, but it's also more expensive. You have to decide if that's good for you. AiM is a little pipey, you know, it's got a little bit of attitude, a little bit of flavor. But again, that's something that can be worked on in the future. Some riders actually like that. So if I was entering a wheelie contest, or I want to do some trials rock jumping, then this is a good unit to use because, you know, if you clutch it, it'll clear anything that you're looking at. It's pretty impressive off the bottom. And, you know, the butt dyno chart don't lie. So this is where we declare a winner. And just because the power is there doesn't mean that one is a winner, right, over another one. We'll start out here talking about the Vortex. I would put the Vortex last in this contest just because of its age itself. As far as performance, when you first put it in, and I'm just being honest, guys, you first put it in, it feels awesome. But you don't know how much ground it's losing, how much technology is passing it by until you throw this in right after you ride it. And I would challenge anyone to say, I love my Vortex. Look, I loved it too. Come back, stick this in there and ride it and see. And I think the future is not grim, but I hope they fix this. Other than that, it's a dynamic unit, and I really liked it. That's why I call it mellow yellow. It's beautiful. It's trouble-free. If you got one and your bike is riding, man, just keep the thing. I love the primitive dialing. That's right up my alley. I'm kind of hating technology and apps and all that stuff. So I love it. It's a lovable little unit. It's a sweet guy. Yeah, it's great. It's great. But it's not in the league of these two anymore. Maybe a couple of years ago, yes. Now let's talk about this AiM. I think this is the best unit for most riders because you're going to get plenty of power out of this, even though you might get more overall with the GET. I think for most people, this is going to be pretty good right here where it sets. I think that once you get used to the switch, it is a game changer as far as time. Like you're riding around, and, you know what, I want to try that. I just punch it. Oh, I want to try that. Oh, yeah, I just punch it. Oh, yeah, I want to punch it. Oh, did I set that? I want to put my traction control. It's got launch control. I didn't even get to that. You can adjust every single thing off of this switch. I mean, that's just, again, it's like having a gold wing or an adventure bike. It's really amazing. But I think the real value here is the customer service and commitment of what AiM is trying to do. That they are the future. And they are listening to customers where you don't hear anything sometimes from the others. You're hearing it from them. They want to build a great ECU. So again, as we all ride, we all give Takomoto our feedback, our good, our bad. They build more maps. They go out and race these maps in Baja, in Supercross, AMA Outdoor Nationals, Enduro, Hare Scramblers. Get feedback, fix it. Get feedback, fix it. Try to find maps that people want to use for dual sports on the road, off the road, and give them a great product. It's already a great product, but to think that it can get better is pretty amazing. Now, in about every contest, 99% of them, that would be enough for this little guy, Puff the Magic Dragon here, to be our champion. But this is not a normal world, guys. And for this time, at this moment in history that I am doing this, for me, this is the standout winner, hands down, no doubt, at least from my eyes, based on my riding. And here's why. There were a couple of things I really loved about this unit. And there were two things that really separated this from the other two, that was far and away a selling point for me, that really sealed the deal. One, I'm going to call it rookability, your amateurness. It's as if this ECU knows exactly what you're thinking. Like this is connected to your head right here. Meaning that when I was tired and sloppy, I know it doesn't, but it just seemed like it did. It figured out that you needed help, and it's going to give it to you. It was so much easier to ride because you didn't even need to clutch your bike. You probably don't even need a recluse clutch with it. It's almost automatic. It chugs at like 2 RPMs. It just chugs along, and we'll get to the chuggability here in just a second. But it was just truly amazing on how this thing just seemed to know what you were looking for. And when you dialed it down, at least for Las Vegas, rough, hardcore, I mean, it's rough out here. It's really roughy and rocky. I'm not saying it's super hardcore more than the East Coast or something. It's just really, really rocky. And you take a beating on your bike. And it's hard to hold on to your bike at sometimes the more you get tired. It just seemed to just tractor no matter whether you were going through deep sand, you were going through mud, we had some rain. It didn't matter if you were going through hard rock gardens, steep rock faces, dried up waterfalls. It just delivered what you thought you wanted to have, like the chipsets in your brain. That second part was that chuggability. It got you out of a lot of trouble where the other might stall it if I made a mistake, like if you want to clear a rock or climb a hill, you know, we make mistakes. So maybe you stall it, clutch it, whatever. First of all, it's almost impossible to stall. The second thing is it just chugged along. It just made you want to do more obstacles. That's what it does. It does what a modification does. It instills confidence, takes your riding to another level, makes you want to do things that you thought you couldn't do before. And the transformation from the stock, from the Vortex, the AiM to this was just night and day. It's like I rode another motorcycle built by a factory race team or something. It is great. Now, even though it has a lot more power, it's not like it's intimidating, scary power. You can see my video that I did when I just had like a first impression ride around the desert with it playing on it. It's not like it freaks you out. It's a really good, smooth, usable power, but it's just there and it's responsive and it's nice. And it was so good that I had to have someone else ride it and just tell me what they thought about it and test these. Like I said, put these on there, not telling them what I'm doing. Unanimously, everything that I put in there that came back, this was the winner. I even held off publishing this video for about 2 weeks so I could ride this more and more to see if I was not being delusional and lying to myself, that what I felt the first 2 or 3 times was real. And it is real. It really works good, because I didn't want to sit here and just praise one unit overly if I didn't have to, right? But it really is that good. Now this brings me to, even though that's hands down the winner, Incredible Hulk is your 2022 champion, that's just my opinion. And as I say, my opinion could be wrong. Let's talk about you. Which one is right for you? If you already have a Vortex and you're happy with it, there's no price on happiness. If you don't want to screw around with it, you don't have the money, you're giving up a little bit, yeah, but the bike's fine. It is fine. It's a great unit. It's dependable. You're going to love it. Keep it. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, if you have a couple of bucks burning a hole in your pocket and you want to know, should you upgrade? I would. I would say yes. Yes, it's worth the upgrade if you have the money. Now, the decision whether you pick the AiM or the GET depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for the future and you don't want to buy another ECU for the next 4 or 5 years, 3 years, this is your choice. If you want something you can plug and play and make a few dials, this is your choice. If you want to ride wheelies down your neighborhood, this is your choice. This is a great ECU. One that I thought would definitely win this contest. But if you're an alpha and you want to be like the Hulkamania that you are, you want badass engaged mode on your bike, and you want to do things that you thought you couldn't do before, you get this one. And at $1,100, I know that's a lot of money, but if $1,100 makes you feel better, makes you do things you thought you couldn't do, makes your riding experience so much more pleasurable and nice, that's a small price to pay, my friends. So anyway, that's the contest. Let me know your thoughts, feelings, and feedback if you have each one of them, your experiences. I know on the AiM, the first run of this, you can now send it back and get the updated. I was running the updated, I think it's the 5.3 map or whatever, the brand new maps on this one. So some of you may have the earlier version. Send it back in and get it remapped for it. But that's the contest. And as I say, it was a pleasure. Again, thanks Mike at Takamoto for letting us do this. Let me know your thoughts, feelings, and feedbacks and your experiences. If you have anyone or you want to ask these questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll do my best to get back in touch with you. And as I say, with every video, guys, whatever I discuss in this video is just my opinion. It's my opinion only. I could be wrong.